Please join with me and welcome Helen.
Hi everyone, how are you going? So my name's Helen. I grew up in Australia in the 1990s. So I'm a 90s girl, so this was the period of the Spice Girls, Tamagotchis, Tazos and Pokemon. So it was just an incredible period where we had a lot of excitement and just a sense of possibility, because we were the first wave of young Vietnamese Australians going through the education properly. And you know, incidentally, we had Asian parents, but the whole, you know, the war, the resettlement, the boat thing, the white Australia, colourful Australia, it meant very little to us. And it was significant to us, you know, the whole ethnic thing as, you know, having two eyes, a nose and a mouth. It was just a part of who we were and what we had. And that wasn't until 2004 when I got together with a group of young Vietnamese Australian women and we thought, you know, let's make radio. And back then we didn't have any conception of, oh, let's sort of contribute to the diasporic discussion on cultural identity. We just thought, let's just make great radio and, you know, tell some stories along the way, stories which were relevant to young Vietnamese women. It's because what happened was something miraculous. We started to realise that the process of sharing, telling and creating stories was a really meaningful thing. Traditionally, Vietnamese culture, we have a very strong storytelling tradition, and I think that's across all cultures as well. You know, the parents and the older people have a story, they share it with the younger people, and a lot of Vietnamese tradition and history is embedded in the natural landscape. So what happened when you had this whole generation coming to Australia was suddenly we were in a place where these stories became completely irrelevant. And we had to basically make the rules up as we go along. Now, the funny part was that everyone was on a different page, so that's called intergenerational conflict. And, you know, if you go through the academic process, they give all these special labels to, you know, the whole experience of growing up. And so when we ran this radio program, I went out to schools across Victoria with a group of the young women on the project, and we started running the schools project. So we got groups of women in groups of 3 to 5 into the studio. They were to produce their own program and create their own. We broadcasted their stories. And I remember there was this particular group that we dealt with. They were just very inhibited. They didn't want to sort of say anything. They didn't want to be, you know, say anything too risky, so they were really quiet. But the minute that you brought them into the studio and turned on the microphone, suddenly all these stories came out that you just completely, I was completely taken aback, and the teacher was in the room with me and she's like, I have never seen these girls like that before. And you get that. I think there's with young people, there is a need to tell stories. There's a need to engage with more complex questions about identity and who we are and what all this means. But there aren't a lot of spaces to ask those questions anymore. Like you can't engage with that self. You can't bring that part of yourself out on a Saturday night or hanging around with your friends in the schoolyard. So we created a space where conversations like that were able to take place.